Hey, it's Dave Dolphin at practicalworshipblog.com, sharing ideas, tips, and practical advice for the everyday worship leader. Today we're in my home office, and I wanted to show you how we pick the songs for our Sunday morning worship sets. Now, many of you use Planning Center online, and we do as well. And there was a time where I would actually schedule and plan the songs. Part of that creative process was done directly into Planning Center. And about a year or so ago, I made a switch to using a dry erase board and a dry erase marker. And I have come to find that it is such a great, intuitive way to plan these sets. Not only just the fact of writing it down and seeing it in a very big scale kind of a way, but we also started planning our sets 4 weeks at a time. And that allows us to see flow. If we're trying to incorporate new songs or the other songs that we're using, what's the rotations? Is it too much? Is it too little? And it allows us to see these sets not just as isolated sets on their own, but what is the flow? What's the story being told from weekend to weekend to weekend? It's one common thing we're trying to do versus these 52 isolated sets within the year. So the first thing I do is I list out all the potential songs and I put them into 3 categories. I've got fast songs, I've got slow songs, and then I have a group specifically of hymns because we generally try to do one hymn every Sunday. New songs that we're thinking about introducing, we're going to put at the top of those categories. And then I just go through Planning Center and I give each song in Planning Center kind of the gut check. If it's a song we have been doing, do we want to keep doing it? Or is it time to put it onto the shelf for a little bit? If it's a song that's been on the shelf for a while, do we want to pull it off the shelf and give it a try? And notice that we put the keys of the songs listed out to the side because when we start talking about transitions, that's going to be important. If we have a song that's in B, then we're going to need to find another song that's in B or maybe relative to that, but transitions are pretty important. We don't have set bands. We don't say that so-and-so plays every 4th Sunday. Instead, when we start picking out the sets, that's going to determine who's going to play and who's going to sing. So right now, the band slots are empty, but those will fill in as the night goes on. And then we also put in like block out information. Like for example, Jessica is one of our singers. She's not available on the 29th, so I've noted that here on the board. And also our All-Stars, which is our grade school kids, they're going to be in service with us. So I want to keep that in mind when I'm planning out this particular set. So here we are about midway through. We're about 45 minutes into our planning session. You can see that we're starting to kind of get our anchors in place. There's certain songs we want to make sure that we either end with or start with or group together. We're also starting to get our bands formulated here, and we got some text messages out making sure people are available, because if we're planning a certain song around a certain person and they're not available, we need to go ahead and make that change here pretty quick. Now, one thing I haven't showed you yet is everyone say hi to Jonathan. Jonathan is one of our worship leaders here at the church, but he also helps me to plan out the sets. And so when we are putting this together, it's not just me, it's Jonathan. In fact, we normally have a third person, and she's not here tonight. Jessica's not here. But I started planning with multiple people about a year or so ago, and I noticed that the quality of our sets got so much better when I started planning with other people, because they'll bring other ideas to the table that maybe some things I didn't think of. And also, if I'm kind of going down a bad path, a bad idea, they will see it quicker than maybe I will and get those things shut down before they make it to the stage. So after about an hour and a half of planning, here is where we landed. Now, these songs that got filled in here at the end that kind of, completed things, sometimes a song gets picked like that because of the feel that it has. It was the missing feel for the set. Sometimes it was the missing part of the story. and that's why it gets picked. Sometimes a song gets picked in a slot for no other reason than it's in the same key as the others, and it gets us from point A to point B. But regardless, this is where we landed, and you might have noticed there towards the end that we were just kind of kicking back and staring at the board, and we're looking at them as a whole. Do we like what we see? Did we miss anything? How are we doing on tempos? Is there too many fast songs? Is there too many slow songs? What's the story like? What's the flow like? One of the goals that we have is that we have one hymn a week. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. How do we do? Let's see. We have Amazing Grace over here. We got the Old Rugged Cross here. Glorious Day counts as a hymn over here. And Be Thou My Vision. So we actually did it. We actually got a hymn a week. Now, sometimes we've planned, and for all 4 Sundays, there wasn't a single hymn. But it's because at the end of the day, those weren't the right songs for those sets and for those messages. So, but even though it is a goal that we want to have a hymn a week, if we don't have a hymn a week, that's okay. We just need to be able to successfully answer the question, why? Now, probably one thing that goes without saying is that if we are not making a constant effort to be close to God, that we are consistently praying and reading His Word and being in tune with His Spirit, then all of this right here in our own strength is going to fail. And I don't say that a lot in my videos. I guess I assume that we all know that not only should we be close to God, that we are close to God. And so therefore, here's some tips and some practical advice for the everyday worship leader. But something as important as planning the songs and the sets for our Sunday morning service, I figured I would be doing us all a disservice if I didn't remind all of us that apart from God, this and anything else we do is going to fail. Well, thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, hit that like button below. That tells YouTube that it was helpful, and it gets the information out in front of more and more people. It really does help out the video, and it helps out the channel. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, that way you know when new videos come online here at YouTube every single week. And if this was helpful to you, it might be helpful to someone else. Consider sharing it on your social media, on Facebook and Twitter and places like that. And for more great practical advice about leading worship, check out practicalworshipblog.com.